If you work in aviation, have you ever wondered just how harmful the chemicals you work with are to your body? Well, hazardous materials and the effects on the body and environment is what we're going to talk about today. Hazardous waste, understanding what types of hazardous waste you have and what types of hazardous waste you're using. This can be done through several different ways. Typically, you'll have an SDS or a safety data sheet that'll tell you what types of chemicals are in the sealant or adhesive or mixture that you're using. But essentially, this contains a plethora of information that's vital to the employee when handling that chemical. So they contain the makeup of the chemical, who makes that chemical, emergency contact numbers, and this will help anybody that comes in contact with the skin. It gives you what to do in the event that the chemical contacts your skin, gets in your eyes, you inhale it, and you digest it. But it also gives you the active ingredient too, so that way you can tell somebody on the other end, hey, this is what I'm using, this is what the active ingredient is, and what are the best ramifications or the best way to deal with the ramifications. But also, you need to use the applicable manuals to coincide with that SDS. So, but something that also pertains to you is waste accumulation. So you have accumulation sites. Ensuring that the waste is properly disposed of is going to be something that not only prevents a spill from happening or a leak or something that can get into the environment, but it's good practice for the employees as well to separate everything, ensuring that they're properly protected with the correct level of personal protective equipment. But again, there's short-term and long-term acute and chronic illnesses that can happen from the contact of these sealants and adhesives. You have your two-part paints that have aerosols that can get into your lungs and damage your lungs through the carcinogens, and essentially that just can attack your internal organs and cause cancer. And that's one of those you can feel it acutely, but will cause chronic problems, and that's the cancer. So with the debris, there's the level of protection I mentioned. So you have different levels from level 1 all the way up to level 4. Level 1 being just minimal protection, and then as the levels go up all the way up to 4, that's when you have your self-contained breathing apparatus, and you'll be in a Tyvek suit. That's hazardous waste cleanup or anything like that where someone infected could be subjected, could be infected immediately. So, but whatever is entering your body and affecting you can also infect the environment, and then not only damage the environment right there, but the surrounding ecosystem, the life and environment around for that as well. So, but the accumulation site, you're also going to store it and dispose of it. So you need to have it properly labeled so that somebody can clearly identify what is in there, because this can contain health issues as well in the event of a spill or a leak or anything, especially when moving and when employees are moving big waste containers to and from. They need to know what's in it so that there's a level of precaution with that. But yes, steel drum, secondary containments, anything like that. So the secondary containment, if you have a steel drum, typically a 55-gallon will hold your liquids, your petroleum that planes will use, and different types of oil, because on the larger scale aviation, that oil is going to be used up pretty quick. So they're going to be housed in 55-gallon drums, and for this they'll be on a secondary containment, and basically all that is in the event of a leak or a puncture or anything, that secondary containment will catch anything that spills out of that original container. So, but yeah, identifying everything with that, and workers should be inspecting those daily. So any type of metal drum that you have, should be inspected daily because of the potential for leak, not only to human health but the environment as well. So, but yeah, again, with the acute effects, the two-part paints, where you have an aerosol, typically you'll pop a can, shake it up. Um, but yeah, there's environmental and occupational hazards. So, and the carcinogens are known to cause cancer, and this is air, water, soil pollution that can cause cancer in the lungs and the bladder. More cases of lung cancer are found in the cities and in urban areas where air pollution levels are considered unsafe. So that's the environmental piece of it. You know, you have your smalls, your different things that are being put into the atmosphere, but your occupational hazard is the carcinogen and asbestos and lead, benzene, vinyl chloride, and again, and your aerosol. But ensuring that you minimize that exposure to those toxins will significantly reduce the risk of cancer. But what that carcinogen does is when it enters your respiratory system, it will attack your internal organs and those living cells and mutate them, and changes the chemical makeup of the cells inside and causes cancer. So the spills and leaks, again, with the inherent risk of that, because it has happened over and over again, and it's just human error or carelessness or a number of factors that come together. One big leak that happened that really wasn't too well known is the Love Canal. So the Love Canal was a failed business venture. In the 1800s, there was a piece of land that was going to be built out and filled in. It was going to be attraction for tourists, you know, to come and enjoy a weekend on the lake or what have you. But you know, it was like I said, failed business venture. So money ran out. The canal wasn't finished. The land was kind of sitting there dormant. So Hooker Chemical Company bought the land and used the land for a number of years to dispose of their waste. And at the time, it was up to code. They buried all their chemicals. They used the land. They filled the land, and then once the land was, you know, deemed unusable, they essentially just sat on it. And this was probably in the late '60s that they finished filling it up. And the city of Niagara wanted to expand in the late '70s, in the mid '70s, and wanted to purchase that land from Hooker Chemical Company. Hooker Chemical Company told them what was going on, what they used the land for, and the city of Niagara didn't care. They still wanted to purchase that land, so they did. Hooker Chemical Company sold it to them for $1. To absolve themselves for any liability, saying that they, you know, were selling that money for money, or selling that land for money and everything. So they sold it for $1. The city bought the land. They built the land. They built schools, housing developments, and then slowly those chemicals within those containers began to leak and cause all kinds of damage to the water or to the water, to the surrounding population, to the environment. And the seepage from that was just extremely devastating. It caused mutations, it caused birth defects, it caused a number of things to go wrong with the populace. To this day, there is still people fighting within litigations with the city to have them pay for their medical bills because of the damage that those chemicals did. So understanding what you're using and how it's being used, what it's going, you know, to protect yourself, the environment, disposing of it, storing it, handling it, it's really, really paramount that safety is taken, because again, a lot was learned from that as well. Because of the storage, there is no longer metal drums being buried. Everything is now, it's fibrous drums or polycarbonate, synthetic materials that do not corrode. So those steel drums, those metal drums, are no longer used at all for that. And the way that the handling of it dealing with chemicals of that nature has been taken on is a whole new deal. And then the accidental spills have obviously continued. BP oil spill, that was a massive one, biggest in, I believe, history. So, but understanding, just to take a couple extra minutes and understand that safety is really comes in, and knowing how and where to find the chemical makeup in that STS will really help out as well.